Hello, welcome to the Jack Cunningham Show on NUFC Talk TV. I am your host, Jack Cunningham, and hello, welcome to the Jack Cunningham Show. It is me, Jack Cunningham, on NUFC Talk TV, and we're gonna have to go through a fourth domestic defeat in a row for Newcastle United. I mean, we're talking about a 3-2 defeat to Everton. I thought we'd turn the corner. I thought we were going to have a strong end to the season. Not because we beat bad Karabag or beat Spurs or anything like that. It just seemed like we'd found some good performances in the last few games. It seemed like things were clicking together. It didn't matter actually who the opponents were. It was more just about watching what Newcastle are like. And I've got to be honest, it was absolutely terrible. It was absolutely dreadful. Another defeat at home. And you're looking at it now, and the season is essentially, I mean, it's hard to really know what the issue is, but the season is basically, to be honest, at this point, that the problem with the season at the moment now is it's all down to the cups. It's all down to the FA Cup and the Champions League. How likely it is we win one of those, I have no idea. I'd probably go for unlikely, to be brutally honest. So it is a real issue, this. I mean, we're going to have to go through it. Please get your comments in, as always. But yeah, we'll go through the game from the start. We'll look at players' performances. We'll look at everything because, unfortunately, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough in any way whatsoever. It wasn't good enough. And there are only a few players, I think, who could come out of it with even any credit whatsoever. Howe got it wrong as well. And we now go into a game against Manchester United, who are unbeaten under Michael Carrick. We're going to a game against Manchester United in a position whereby we kind of need a win, or you're looking at a bottom half finish. Forget about Europe at this point. You know, after Brentford's win yesterday, 7th is getting further and further away. There is a possibility that it'll go down to 8th and 9th in the Premier League this season, but overall, it isn't good enough. It hasn't been good enough for all season domestically. I mean, I feel like one issue we'll go over, we'll obviously look at Nick Pope. We will also look at just the softness of the goals we've conceded all season. I feel like most games we concede 3, and we don't concede any chances apart from the goals that we actually concede. It is very, very odd, and there's been no solutions for it. And you get in a position now whereby I feel like in the summer, whether we like it or not, there will be a massive overhaul in this squad. Both players who probably we would like to maybe move on and maybe should have been moved on last summer, and ones who we would actually like to keep. But ultimately, if we don't get European football again, I understand the point. We didn't get European football in 2024, but equally, we did finish 7th in that season. We only didn't get European football because Manchester United won the FA Cup. This will be our lowest finish under Eddie Howe since he took charge, and I feel like we're in a really, really dire situation. We can still look forward to the Champions League, as much as I can't imagine anyone's feeling too confident about going in and playing Barcelona after watching that. But you can still got to enjoy it. At least anyone who's going over there, enjoy the trip, etc. And it could be our last Champions League game for a while. And then equally, you've got to look at the FA Cup as well. Manchester City at home, where if we play like that, we have no chance. But we have proven this season that we can actually beat City. So the cups are the only things that are left now, really. The Premier League is getting to the point where we have still actually quite a few games left. And I feel like we are in the position of no return in the Premier League. Now, I'm already seeing some comments about how, and that's absolutely fine. I'll go through your comments. We will address them all. But let's have a look back at the game then. So Newcastle United take on Everton, and Everton side who are better away from home than they are At home, absolutely, totally agree with that. So, and like, I'm sorry, totally agree. I feel like going at the game, I felt like, right, we need a win here if we're going to get a European football. Simple as that. We need a win. If we're going to get European football, we need a win. What happened is we started pretty slowly. I don't think Everton deserved to score. I don't think there's anything like that. But it's poor defending again. Branthwaite gets sort of pushed into the ball by Sandro Tonali. He flicks it on. There's no one at the back post. You should always have someone at the back post, in my opinion. I don't know why in football we don't do it anymore. But if there's someone on the back post, it's clear. It doesn't matter. But whatever, it goes in off the post. We're 1-0 down. And then from there, well, I wouldn't say we battered them, but it was a lovely goal. Great equaliser, great ball in by Tonali into Ramsey. Great finish by Ramsey. And that's brilliant to see, by the way. Random Access has just gifted an NUFC Talk membership to Hish Hamk. So well done. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. That's absolutely brilliant. Apologies, I've just butchered your name there, but yes, like, great stuff. Thank you very much for doing that. Random Access, really, really appreciated. And look, let's have a look. Let's have a look. The great goal by Ramsey. He has been, as I say, I think in 2026, he's been one real positive for us this in this little period. It's 2 goals and an assist in his last 3 Premier League games now. He was actually our best player in the first half by a long way, was Ramsey. I know it took deflection, but that's why we want to see him in and around the box, having shots. Takes a deflection, it goes in. We equalise, and you're thinking, okay, right, okay. It was a bad start, but we've equalised. We might actually come back to win this now. Like, the momentum's with us. We're at home, and we concede immediately. Like, first of all, we shouldn't let Dwight Miner get the shot off, but then once he gets one of the weakest shots off you will ever see, I mean, it is so easy. Poor pass to just literally drop on it and grab it. Or even, if you're not going to grab it, push it out for a corner. Push it away to the right-hand side. I don't know how. He dives to his right and he pushes it inside into Beto. And he's then scrambling across his goal. But he's too slow to even do that. And he can't get there. And Beto puts it in from 6 yards out. It's absolutely a terrible goalkeeping error from Nick Pope. And unfortunately, this season, he has cost us a lot of points. You can blame, we will blame, we can, and as I said, we will go through, I'll go through some comments in a bit, but like, you can blame whatever you want, and Howe absolutely deserves criticism. Of course he does. But that error from Nick Pope, and Nick Pope all season, he's just let us down so many times. I mean, I think off the top of my head, I think Marseille in the Champions League. I can think of Brentford, West Ham, Everton. There's almost certainly more as well, but these are the games that I just think of off the top of my head. How on earth has he not saved that? It is such a straightforward save. You could grab it, push it out for a corner, whatever. He pushes it exactly where it doesn't. It like hits the bottom of his hand or something, so it goes back inside. And Beto scores, and we're 2-1 down at half time. And you're kind of looking at it and you're thinking, okay, second half, whatever. And then the second half, our best player, Ramsey, is ill on the pitch. He literally whiteys a la with the St. James's Park pitch. And he has to come off. And then Willett comes on and you're like, oh, Ramsey was one of the only ones I was thinking, like, he's going to drive us forward. And then we make a couple of changes because second half, the first 15 minutes, absolutely nothing happened. Everett managed to sort of kill it off quite comfortably. Then we make some changes. Barnes and Murphy come on. Walter and Elanga went off, I think. They go off. And then you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, so then you're thinking, all right, like, well, let's see what happens. We put them under a bit of pressure. We pushed them back. I wouldn't say we created a lot. I think Gordon had a shot that Pickford saved, that Pickford actually made a bit of a mess of, actually, and Chow couldn't get on the end of it. And then we equalised. Really good move down the left-hand side. Joe Linton does really well in the box, chops back. clips the cross into Murphy, and don't get us wrong, Murphy was good when he came on, but that's a great finish from Jacob Murphy on the volley. Keeps it down. That's all you need to do. Keep it down, and it just flies at the back of the net. And again, with sort of 7 minutes to go plus stoppage time, you're like, all right, okay, here we go again. We can get an undeserved. Sometimes you need to win not playing well. And then what on earth happens? What on earth happens at the start? Gordon loses the ball in midfield, and then Gordon loses the ball in midfield. Byrne is too slow to get out to McNeil because he gets caught on his heels. And then Hall, who is one of our best players by miles and has been brilliant this season, pushes Barry into it when actually I don't think Barry's getting on the end of it, and him pushing him into it makes sure he scores. It was just an absolute mess. You cannot concede that quickly twice after getting back in the game. It is criminal. And then from there, we threw men forward, but I don't think we had another chance, to be brutally honest. I think Willock came close with a shot, but I think that might have been at 2-1 that he put just over the crossbar. And then and then Gordon gets subbed off. Now I've heard mixed reports on this. So if anyone was in St James's Park, they could please tell me. Apparently he was booed off by sections of the St James's Park crowd. Now for me, I thought it was more, if there was booing, it was probably more the decision to take him off. And that's not because I thought Gordon was playing well, because he wasn't, as he never seems to play well against Everton. Honestly, he never seems to play well against Everton. I don't know what it is, but he can't play well against Everton. If it had been he was playing well, no, it wasn't he was playing well. It's just that Gordon still, despite the fact that he wasn't in good form in that game, he is still probably one of our better attacking players. I thought it was actually more the decision to boo him, to take him off. If it was booing him, then that's disappointing, because I think no matter what, and no matter how badly you think he's playing, whatever, we shouldn't be booing a player like Anthony Gordon, who I think, despite the fact that he's not had a good season, I think that every game he does give everything, and he's still now also in the Champions League. He's like second top Champions League goal scorer. So yeah, like I don't know if you let us know on that one, that'd be great. But yeah, it was just a grim afternoon at St James's Park, and it's 4 domestic defeats in a row at St James's Park. First time in the Premier League we've lost 3 in a row since under Steve Bruce. It's a rough season. It's an absolute rough season. Like there are huge issues. There are players who are playing who shouldn't be playing anymore, realistically, to be honest. Okay, let's go through because I'm seeing a comment from Connor. Trull, I'll go through that one as well. Trulls, don't worry about it. I don't think you should boo your own players, to be brutally honest, but that's just my opinion. I think that we look at the starting lineup. So let's go through the starting lineup. So when I saw the team, I kind of assumed it was going to be Gordon up front, and I wasn't annoyed about that, because I think that Gordon has played better up front, and Newcastle have played better with Gordon up front. Now, I know Everton have 2 big centre-backs in Tarkowski and Branthwaite, but I kind of thought that, okay, with Gordon up front, Walter Marder as an actual 10, and I would have put Ramsey on the left, not Joe Linton, then I thought that was fine. I was happy with that team. As it transpired, it was Gordon up front, it was Walter Marder in the left-hand side midfield, 8 position, it was Joe Linton on the wing. Now, we haven't seen Joe Linton on the wing for a long time. He's not probably in that position of as good of a winger as he was when we used him there. It was so it was Joe Linton on the left-hand side. Now, a few years ago, he was brilliant there in the second half of the season, but he had Willock overlapping him, and he had Dan Burn at left back. So Dan Burn would sit at left back. Willock and Joe Linton would overlap and interlink. So it made sense then. With Walter Marder as the left-hand side number 8, he's not going to be on the overlap. So it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And how I recognise it didn't work, I think Joe Linton actually shouted to the bench and said something about, like, what am I doing out here? Get me in midfield. And then we put Walter back up front, and then Gordon out to the left. Again, and then the thing with putting Walter up front is, because I am a staunch defender of him, I will consistently defend him. And again, I saw analysis of him last night by Alan Shearer, and only 14 touches of the ball. If they don't pass him the ball, what is he meant to do? What is he meant to do? Genuinely, what is Walter meant to do? If no one's passing the ball when he's popping up and finding nice little pockets of space, or because if you play the ball into him, what usually happens is people are drawn into him, and then most of the time, he does lose it sometimes, but most of the time, he finds a teammate with a pass out to the left, pass out to the right, even like a pass sort of diagonally forward, and he creates space for others. But what you're not going to do is, if you don't pass him the ball and you just ignore him, then you make him look like bad. And again, you get all this analysis of like Shearer, and then me and Adrian Durham this week going at it, because I said should build the team around Walter. Adrian said he's the worst Premier League signing in history. That gained a lot of viral traction, and I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him because there's clearly a top footballer in there who, if you adapt to him, as you should if you spend £69 million on a player, we will see the best of him. But instead, what happened is he gets lumped up front. We don't pass the ball to him. We don't give him any service at all. And then what happened? Yeah, and then what happens? He gets hooked. And it goes, well, there you go, it was a bad performance by Walter Marder. When it was, and he wasn't great, but if you don't give him the ball, what's he meant to do with it? If he's given the ball and he lost it every time, fair enough. You'd be like, okay, that's a bad performance. If he's making movements and getting into positions where he can have it and draw people in and create space for others, and you're not passing the ball to him, what's the point? What is the point? You're going to make him look bad. You're going to make him look bad. And look, I would be absolutely gutted to lose him in the summer, but I'm starting to feel like they might in the end actually just let him go, and we'll see him go somewhere else and thrive once they get players around him playing properly. And I don't want that, because I think that he's a guy who can evolve Newcastle and give us that technical ability that we've been lacking for quite some time. So the starting lineup didn't, in terms of what happened, it didn't make a lot of sense. And the question is that, and then from there, it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. We change it around. We get the equaliser, and then you can see immediately after Nick Pope has one save to make in the first half, and that's how he saves it. I mean, the goalkeeping situation is a problem. It's been a problem for a while. Nick Pope in 2022-23 was absolutely brilliant for us. Made one horrendous error where he got sent off against Liverpool and missed the cup final, of course, which was absolutely gutting for him and gutting for us. It was typical Newcastle. But apart from that, Nick Pope was brilliant in 22-23. Start 23-24, made, I think, a pretty bad mistake against Brighton in the game. I think Evan Ferguson scored a hat-trick. But apart from that, he was very good up until that game against Manchester United where he got his injury. And we were 6th in the league. So despite having Champions League football, despite having the Carabao Cup, we were still performing really well. And then Dubravka came in. He was and Dubravka was useless in the second half of that season. So, and then Pope came out. He's never been the same player since. Now, I appreciate the moments of like running out of the box and stuff. That's not on a shoulder injury, but saving shots down to his left and down to his right is his meat and drink for his entire time that he was good for us. It's not happening anymore. And the summer, they should have made a brutal decision on him. They should have, when they couldn't get Trafford, they shouldn't have really gone for Ramsdale. They should have gone for another sort of top goalkeeper, one who's going to come in and be the number one. Now, the Trafford situation, I'll never understand. I will never ever understand it. I don't get it. I appreciate that in the end of the day, he had the choice of Man City and Newcastle, but Newcastle would have had a free run at him before the Club World Cup. It's as simple as that. He was telling everyone that he was telling everyone that he was going to join Newcastle. He thought it was happening. He would have been the number one. And now look at him, he's sat on and I think we actually will sign him in the summer, although there's going to be more competition. Like Aston Villa and Spurs are interested. You know, if he ends up going to one of those two, because Aston Villa have got European football, then who can blame him? You know, and we'll have to look back on an absolutely a missed opportunity, and we'll have to go and get another goalkeeper, because the goalkeeping situation has cost us this season. I don't know how much people believe in XG, but I do certainly believe that it has some merit, because I think it shows the quality of chances that you concede. I don't think it necessarily means that. I don't think it necessarily is the be-all and end-all, but it does show the quality of chances you concede. And Newcastle have one of the best XG defences in the Premier League, which shows how basically the sloppy goals we've conceded them all season. Most teams have 3 chances a game and they'll score 3 times against us. Manchester City had in the game last week, didn't have that many chances and they scored twice against us. Yes, they get Everton. What other chances did Everton have? Genuinely, I can't remember any others apart from Bettel's 1-on-1, where obviously he should have scored when Chow sort of fell over. So, like, that's where I'm at with that. I think that the goalkeeping situation is a mess. Now, Kim Cam, totally respect your opinion, but James Trafford, you're saying he's a mix of both of what we have, Ramsdale and Pope. James Trafford is England's next number one. He has it all as a goalkeeper. He's a really good shot stopper, commands his area, really good at passing out from the back, and he is a confident character. He believes in himself. And he would have been the perfect signing at £27 million or whatever it was going to be. Now you're looking at potentially double that and maybe losing Tino Livramento as well, going the other way at Manchester City. Or Trafford will go to Aston Villa or Spurs or something like that instead. And we'll be left to rue the situation of missing out on England's next number one goalkeeper. And it will be something I will always be annoyed about. I'll always be annoyed about it. It's as simple as that. You know, you've got to be in a position where we should have done it. We should have been on it, and we weren't. And this is what's happened this season. Pope's declined. Ramsdale is very good with his feet. He's good at saving penalties. He can't save anything else. Ramsdale rarely. I mean, that one that Karabag scored, the first one they scored. I mean, how does he not save that? It's at his near post. The guy's just tucked it in, and he doesn't. He's standing in the middle of his goal. He's doing nothing. So the 2 goalkeepers are a massive issue. It needs resolving. It's a massive priority in the summer. It's a huge priority in the summer. A new goalkeeper, new number one. Get him in. It's just get him in. It's as simple as that. Now, plenty of comments rolling in. If you are listening on the radio on DAB, please head over to NUFC Talk on YouTube and get involved in the comments. We'd like to hear from you all. So let me have a look at a few, because there was plenty. Now, there's obviously plenty of saying Eddie Howe. Outright, Christopher Hoskin is saying, where's the quality people keep saying Walter Maher has? Because I've seen nothing since November. I'm sorry, mate, Howe might be sacked if we go out to City and keep losing. We're 7 points above the relegation zone. Well, Christopher, thank you for joining as usual. Now, with Walter Maher, I've got to be honest. I think that you can't see the quality I don't really know if you can. Right, okay. There's a difference between being a good striker and a good footballer. I don't know how you can not watch Walter Marder and see that he's not a good footballer, because he has the technique, he has the intelligence. A good footballer can't play that pass through to Jacob Murphy that he did against Karabag. If he wasn't a good footballer, he can't do that. So he is a very good footballer, and he's very intelligent. He doesn't have the physical traits in terms of his engine and pace to probably be a pressing striker. So instead, you've got to find a way to adapt and get the team around. And it's pointless, absolutely pointless, spending £69 million on a striker if you are not then going to adapt the game in some way to get the best out of him. Now, in my view, I think he's a number 10, because I still think then you go out and get a pressing striker in the summer, because a pressing striker, that's when Newcastle are at their best. With the pressing striker. But if you have Walter Marder as a pure number 10, and then you have the other two lads are number 8s, then they do the running for Walter Marder, and you actually pass him the ball, you will see the best out of them. I will defend this guy this is a hill I will die on, because I've seen it. I don't know how other people can't see just how good he is, but we're not getting the best out of him, and that's on the manager to do. You know, I spoke to Craig Hope this week on the latest Inside the Toon. I put it to Hope that it is on Eddie to get the best out of Walter Marder. If we're not doing it, what is the point? What is the point of having him? What is the point to spend that money? I get there has to be some adaptation for him to the Premier League. Of course there does. But equally, if you're not going to pass him the ball and you're not going to give him the chance to show you what he can do, which we have seen in glimpses, by the way, then what is the point? Yes, next season we're sitting here and it's the same thing and it's not happening. Then I'll probably start to admit that, okay, maybe he's just not a Premier League footballer, okay? But for now, until I see some actual effort to get him involved in the game, get him into positions to score goals, get him into positions to set people up, then I'm not having it. I'm not having it. He's a top footballer. It's as simple as that. Right. What else we got here then? Yeah. So look. Ultimately, I totally agree with all of this. We've got some comments on Pope. Got Choppy saying he's bored of Eddie Howe's tactics. Yeah, look, I think this is a valid point. I thought we turned a corner, and it's felt like a few times this season, it feels like we've turned a corner, and then we just haven't. We haven't turned the corner. And to have not turned the corner is the real issue. It's the fact of right, we're here, we've done it, we're back. And then it turns out we're not back. And it does feel, it felt like a few weeks ago I was seeing some more inventiveness against, for example, Aston Villa, Spurs. There was much more inventiveness around the ball. It wasn't just get the ball by a cross. Right, why on earth did we put in about 30 crosses yesterday against Jake O'Brien at right back, who's a centre-back that is 6'4", Jared Branthwaite and James Tarkowski? It is meat and drink for them. They want the ball to be whipped into the box so they can just head it out. And it happened over and over again. You need more inventiveness in and around the box. It's as simple as that. And I thought we'd seen it. And again, a lot of it was from Walter Marder. Again, a lot of it was from Walter Marder. But again, we just didn't, for some reason, this game, we didn't pass to him. We did get him into dangerous positions. And it turned into cross after cross after cross after cross. Hope for the best. Now, I appreciate the second goal came from a cross, but it's from good play by Joe Linton. It's down the left-hand side. He chops inside. He creates the space. And then he's not just hitting and hoping it in the box. He's looked up and he's picked out Jacob Murphy. That's different. That's skill. That's thinking creatively. That's being proactive. Not just get the byline, right, I'm not even going to look, I'm just going to smash it into the area. Sometimes you can do that, which is exactly what Dwight McNeil did for the Everton winning goal. He didn't even look. He just went, I'm just going to drive, because he knew his position where he was in. He's going to drive it across the 6-yard box and hope someone's there. And Barry was there. So sometimes it works, but not when it's a packed defence like that. You can't just play a couple of 1-2s around the outside and then whip it in, especially when the choices up front can't head the ball. All three of them can't head the ball. Gordon is not going to win you any headers in the air. Waldemar, despite being 6'6", that's not his game, and that is absolutely not. That's not an issue, by the way. I don't like this view of just because he's tall, he should head the ball. It's not his game. It's not his game. It is what it is. He can probably work on it a little bit, but he's never going to be an Andy Carroll, right? And then Visser can't head the ball either. In fact, there was one cross he put in. Barnes put a cross in, and Visser got there ahead of his man, and he headed out for nearly a throw-in. So, it's an absolute mess in that point of view. Now, points on Gordon being booed. I've seen this one here. So, and Trull saying he'd sell Gordon and sack Howe. So, Gordon being booed. If it was him being booed, which again, if anyone's got any confirmation of that, I would like to know, because I personally thought it was the decision to take him off being booed. And again, it's not because he was playing well, but it's just the fact that, like, okay, if you're chasing a game, you probably still want a guy who's got 13 goals this season on the pitch. I know, admittedly, only 3 of them in the Premier League, but still. So that's what I kind of thought it was. But if I'm wrong, I'm happy to say I'm wrong. I would just like to know if he was being booed. If he was being booed, I'm disappointed, because Gordon is a player you can absolutely criticise. He has not been good enough for most of last season, most of this season. He's probably played well for like 5 months since the start of last season. But he always gives his all. He always presses from the front. He always works hard. He always does give everything, I think, in every game. I just think, so if he was being booed, I find that disappointing. I don't think we should be booing any footballers. You can boo at the end of a game when we lose our 4th consecutive game at St James's Park. Absolutely, you can boo that. But I think booing individual players, I'm not sure about, really. And again, like, Gordon is probably one who we are probably coming into his last few months of his time at Newcastle. Let's not forget how big of a role he played in us making the Carabao Cup final. Yes, he was banned for it in the end, of course. But let's not forget about the role he played in us actually getting there with 2 goals in the semi-final against Arsenal during that period of play when he was playing well. So I think the booing, well, Trolls are saying the booing was for Howe and the team. Yeah, if that's at the end of the game, that's absolutely fair enough. I was on about just when Gordon got subbed off. So, yeah, I mean, look, that's just where I'm at with everything. We've got other stuff from Howe. I got some more questions as well, but we'll go through them in a little bit. So, yeah, I'll go through because other people are addressing Waldemar, which is absolutely fine enough. I will go with that one. Right. So, I mean, I'll go through them in a little bit. So, let's have a look at some individual performances. I think I want to try and pick out some player. Well, okay. Dan Burn had a really poor game, in my view. Really bad for the last goal. Sort of, we're just too slow to get out there. He sort of stepped up for some reason. Chow didn't have his best game, but he was still probably the best of the back 4. No. Hall was still good. Hall just made a mistake for the goal. Hall's still good. Tonali was good. I nearly scored an absolute screamer. What a save by Jordan Pickford. He didn't have a lot to do in the game, Jordan Pickford, but that's got to be save of the season. Someone said Donnarumma's against Liverpool. Oh, I don't agree. I think it was Alexis McAllister had a volley. It was deflected, and Donnarumma tipped it over the crossbar. Nah, that Jordan Pickford save, because Tonali has hit that sweet as you like. I mean, most goalkeepers would have got a touch on it because it wasn't quite in the corner. But I don't think there's many goalkeepers who would have saved that. I think it would have almost broke their hand at the speed he hit that strike. So, Great save from Pickford at the end to deny Tonali, who again I thought Tonali played well. Good assist for the Jip Ramsey goal. He picked out Ramsey nicely, threaded him through. It's a really again. I don't think Waldemar played well, but again, I don't think a lot of it's his fault. I would like to see us get the ball into him a lot more. And then you're looking at Trippier, against Iliman Ndiaye. He had a bit of a nightmare. Ndiaye played really, really well. Look, Trippier is a player who I have massive respect for. Will never, ever forget what he did for us. Still one of our best ever signings, I reckon, at £12 million for Atletico Madrid. That first full season he played when we got into the Champions League, he was absolutely brilliant. Genuinely so good for us. He was really good at the start of 23-24 as well, until all of the personal things started going on with him. And then second half of last season was excellent as well. The cup final, he was top draw in that game. And for the whole rest of that season, he was brilliant as well. This season, he's had some really good games. And he's had some games where you're looking at him going, just hasn't got the legs anymore to play our style of football. He's still on the overlap all the time, and then he's got to get back, and he runs himself into the ground. And it's just a bit sad. I understand this because Tino and Kraft are injured. You need to have maybe another option there. We have got Shaha, but clearly he's not trusted. We're at the point where Trippier should be a squad player at best, rather than playing all of these games. I think you're in a position with that for a lot of players. Jacob Murphy scored, but again, he just loses the ball so often. He loses it so often. I wouldn't mind if it was him trying to play it forward, but most of the time it's him just trying to play it sideways. He gives it away. Needs to be better. And then look, we've got to address that. We've got to address Eddie Howe. I think, as I've seen in the comments, there's plenty of people who feel like his time is done as Newcastle manager. I think we definitely could get at the end of March and be out of both cup competitions and be in the bottom half of the table. So sort of with April and May left, absolutely nothing left to play for in that sense. And then you probably are at the point where there's got to be question marks. I'm not necessarily in that position of that. I think it's time to go, but equally, I don't know what the solution is, because it hasn't been good enough this season. We should be higher than we are in the league. Yes, the summer was disruptive, of course it was, but there are the same issues happening over and over again, and a lot of it's from picking the same players over and over again. There's a lot of players who seem to have their positions sort of comfortably nailed on, no matter what. I mean, Botman should have played yesterday. Why would Botman not play over Burn? Burn has been a brilliant, again, loyal servant for us, top player, but we're in a position where if Botman's fit, Botman starts. Simple as that. Botman and Chow is your best defensive pair. They've got to be a centre-back. Now, we've got Tino Livramento coming back soon. Need Lewis Miley back soon as well. He's had a great season. This injury's a real shame. Bruno without a bit, but for the Barcelona game, hopefully going to have Tino Livramento back. Hopefully have Miley back as well. And then I think the striker situation is a mess, because when we play Waldemar, as I've said repeatedly, we don't get the best out of him. It's pointless. And then Visser the guy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What annoys me more about him is he just seems really lazy. We've had bad players, but we've had bad players who at least work hard. Asula isn't the best player, but I'll tell you what, he'll run around and he'll put people under pressure and he'll put some effort in. On Visser, just strolling about the pitch. Like, this is a big move for him. It's his last big move, and it's a chance to play in the Champions League. I know he's got a Champions League goal, but we're in the position, I think, in the summer, you've got to cut your losses on him, to be honest. Move him on. You need someone else, because he's meant to be he's meant to be doing a lot more than he is. I know the injury wasn't ideal. It was absolutely terrible timing, to be honest, the injury. But equally, I don't know how long it would have took him to get fit anyway, because he didn't play any preseason games. He just did preseason training. We needed to hit the ground running immediately, and he hasn't. It's as simple as that. He hasn't. It's as simple as that. So it is a mess, really, to be honest. Got some more things on Waldemar. Oh, Queen of Heart is asking, a lot of team fans are tired of the tactics. Has Eddie run out of steam? In my view, there's always the idea of, let's think about actually when Eddie Howe was appointed. I don't think anyone thought we would get to this position, he'd still actually be the manager. I think that a lot of people, me included, assumed he would try and keep us up that season, which he did. And then the following year, he'd probably get the following year, and then that would be it. So yeah, and in the end, he has become a victim of his own success. Realistically, he has. In every full season, Newcastle have not finished lower than 7th under Eddie Howe. At the moment, we're definitely going to finish lower than that. And a bad summer, or in terms of recruitment, and a bad summer in terms of losing the player who the team was essentially built around. No way to sort of find a way around that has put us in a position where in the Premier League we are struggling massively against basically every team. Even our wins, I can't really think of how many times we've played well in the Premier League, to be honest. There's not many games we've played well in the Premier League. The question for me is not about my view. It's what do the owners think? It's what does David Hopkinson think? It's what does Ross Wilson think? Because all the talk from David Hopkinson has been about that they're massively behind him. He's not going anywhere. And they see it as this season. Okay, if we go out of the Champions League to Barcelona, which I'd say is 80% likely, I'd like to see us just hopefully give them 2 good games and see what happens. The side of the draw we're on is actually quite nice. We could actually make the Champions League semi-finals if we do get past Barcelona, which is insane, by the way, when you see us this season, but we could. And then if we can beat Manchester City, you're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. So it's different. If you win those games, the season's very different. If you go out of those, you finish bottom half of the Premier League, do they then decide that is on you? And thank you for everything you've done. We don't want this to turn, I guess, sour, bitter, whatever. We'll now move you on, but thank you for everything you've done. Or do they decide, actually, okay, we're going to write that season off as a transitional season or what have you. This summer, we'll have a big overhaul of the squad, both probably losing players you want to lose and don't want to lose. And we go again next year. And next year's the big one. Get us back in the Champions League. Try and win us some silverware. Because the 2030 aim, you've got to judge everything they say on that now. They'd said by 2030 they want Newcastle to be one of the best clubs in the world. Well, finishing 13th in the league is a pretty bad way to go about that, isn't it? But that's what we're on course for at this moment in time. So, like, it is, and I absolutely totally appreciate fans on here, anywhere else, who have their view on Eddie Howe and have their view on that he's done. As I've said, I think it's just more about what do the ownership group think and how do they perceive what's happened this season. If they perceive it in the way of, okay, we give you some, we did give you the money to spend. It's not gone well. This season has failed for numerous reasons. Thank you and goodbye. Then, okay, let's go out there and get a class manager, a top class manager. If not, I'm fully behind. I'm fully behind Eddie. So let's just see. Let's just see. That's where I'm at. But again, like, this is where we are with this situation, but I hope I've addressed your point. Christopher asking, if we play Walter against Barca, we lose. He's too slow in transition. We need pace to break Barca's high line, and playing Walter will hold counter-attacks. Now, this is a fair point, but actually, again, and I've only seen us do it once, basically. In the Champions League this season, whereby we played the ball into Walter. He played it back to Bruno. The defenders went out with Walter, which created some space for Murphy to run into. And Bruno played the pass down the right-hand side for Murphy. This was against Benfica. And Murphy crossed it in for Gordon. And Gordon scored at the back post. Now, this doesn't happen without Walter, because he's the one who's creating the space for it. So, I actually think if you play Walter against Barca, as a striker, I think we would cause them a load of problems, because as long as you get players around him, both in front of him and behind him, then we'll be able to play some nice little 1-2s, slip players in down the wings, get players into the box, attacking the box. So the way I kind of see it is you play the ball into Walter, the Barca players run in to try and nick it back. It all comes down to him then obviously being able to hold it up. But if he manages to hold it up, he can play it back to someone, the ball goes through, Alanga's in, down the right-hand side, and then you get everyone else running in the box, and you probably score a goal. That's how it would work if you were to go for that. That's how it would work. Because that's how we get the best out of Walter. Now, Adam Cleary, who has been on Inside the Toon quite a lot recently, and is, of course, tactics guru, massive Newcastle fan, lovely bloke. He is also a massive staunch defender of Walter. It's me and him are very much defenders of him. And we both were saying, but especially Adam, because Adam's a tactics guru, was saying that to get the best out of him, you simply need men around him. With Stuttgart, he had players all the time, interconnected, interlinked, close to him. And that is what causes all the problems for other teams. We have no one around him, ever. You can look at all the pass maps. You can look at everything this season. He is disconnected wherever he plays on the pitch. And that is not on him. That is on Eddie Howe. That's what Eddie Howe needs to solve out. If you're going to pay £69 million for I'm not actually sure he will be a striker for us in the end. But for a £69 million quality footballer, an attacking player, you've got to find a way to get the ball into him consistently, and you'll see results. I'm convinced of it. I'm absolutely convinced of it. I totally understand why people don't rate him, but I do feel like we're getting to the point where, of, he's becoming a scapegoat at this point, to be honest. So, like David Spencer is saying, agree, Nick Walter is a fantastic striker. Don't forget it. New to him, the Premier League needs time to adapt. Give him time. So, you see this, and then I got points on Cuff saying that the boos were from... Yes, they were from Everton fans. Now, this is a fair point, but Everton fans were booing him throughout. This was... We got this from talkSPORT's. So Steve Armisen and Mickey Gray were there for us, and they said that basically it was sections of Newcastle fans booing Gordon. So that was where that came from with that. Yeah, exactly. But that's where we are with that one. I'm getting asked, Gavin here. So Walter was showing and no one was passing to him. Maybe they're not used to go through the middle because for years they're going down the wings. That's a really good point, Gavin. That is a really good point. Newcastle have traditionally played triangles down the wings. If you think about 22-23, that right-hand side of Almiron, Trippier, Longstaff, fantastic, interplay, underlaps, overlaps. It was brilliant. Down the left-hand side, it was Joe Linton, Willock and Byrne. And then it was, last season, it was Tino, Barnes, Joe Linton on the left. And on the right, it was... second half of the season, it was the right second half of the season for of last season, it was Trippier, Bruno, Murphy down the right-hand side. They had a synergy. And this is a fair point. We've never gone down the middle. We've never gone down the middle. But with a player Walter, you need to go down the middle. And if Newcastle are going to evolve as a team, all of the best teams play down the middle of the pitch. All of the best teams play down the middle of the pitch. We evacuate the middle of the pitch. We absolutely evacuate the middle of the pitch. All of our players come out to the left-hand side. All of our players come out to the right-hand side. And that leaves Waldemar just standing on his own. Like, well, what am I meant to do? So, Gavin, great point. Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. Brilliant stuff. Stephen Howe saying... apparently last night, Win said it was a good performance and an enjoyable game. That's interesting. No, Win's a great guy. I've enjoyed the one show I did with him, but I can't agree with that one. I gotta be honest. I thought that it was painful to watch in a lot of ways because it felt like a game that I've seen over and over again this season. And that's the problem. And that is the problem. It felt like I was watching the same game over and over again. So, and then I got another question saying, is Visser fit? I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think he's not. I would like to think he's not fit because I can't believe he could be this bad if he is fit. So I'd like to think he's not fit and give him something. Just give him some benefit of the doubt because everything I'm seeing from him just isn't good enough. It just isn't good enough. So I'd like to think he's not fit. And of course, just a reminder that, of course, that NTTV memberships are £4.99. Please do sign up, get exclusive access to everything, including my show on replay, and then also all the other great content that they all do. I mean, honestly, Chris and the team, they do give you a lot of brilliant Newcastle content. Try and get guests on as well. We've had Luke Edwards recently. We've had Ollie Klink from talkSPORT on recently as well. So please do just sign up if you're not a member already. And then just a reminder as well of Inside the Toon, which is talkSPORT's weekly Newcastle United show. It's me, Ollie, usually Sean Custer, sometimes Adam Cleary, and then hopefully we've got some big guests lined up as well. Again, you can agree, disagree, whatever, but look, it's by Newcastle fans, it's for Newcastle fans. It's the first time talkSPORT have ever done anything like this whereby we have a dedicated show to Newcastle United. The last one did really well in terms of views, so if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And again, like and subscribe to the channel, and of course like and subscribe to this as well. But yeah, I mean, Queen of the Heart saying, keep smashing the likes. We appreciate the support you give. Absolutely, we do. So I've got loads of comments to get through, but yeah. But we will have a look at them. There's some on Waldemar, which I will give another one as well. Absolutely fine with that. So yeah, and I'll address them in a little bit. But yes, I mean, it's the Premier League season starting to feel like it's done. It's starting to feel like it's done. It really does start to feel like it's done. It's tricky. It really is tricky, but it does feel like it is done this Premier League season now. We don't have a lot left to play for. Realistically, we could still get in Europe, depending on how well Aston Villa and Crystal Palace do in Europe, or Nottingham Forest as well. Can't rule them out, of course. But depending on how they do, there'll be some more European places become available. But if not, you're looking at a season without Europe unless we win the Champions League or the FA Cup. I'd say that's unlikely, to be brutally honest. I would say that is unlikely. Can't see us winning the Champions League or the FA Cup, to be fair. In terms of the Champions League coming up, Barcelona, I was happy with the draw because I didn't want to play Chelsea 3 times in a week, which I think is fair enough. Yeah, I didn't want to play Chelsea 3 times in a week. But yeah, Barcelona are Barcelona. They're without Frankie de Jong. I know that. I've seen that. That's gonna be a thing. Weghorst's not gonna have Bruno. You just want to go in there with a bit of confidence, but Manchester United on Wednesday, a team who only play 1 game a week, they're doing well under Carrick. I'm still not entirely convinced by them, to be honest, but I'm sure they'll be miles better than we are because, well, they are at the moment. Simple as that. And again, if they sit back and counter-attack, which they probably will, we'll be in trouble again. Like we should actively give them the ball. Yeah, we should actively give them the ball again on Wednesday against Manchester United. We should have less possession than them. If we're going to get anything from the game, we need less possession than Manchester United, I think, in the game. If we've got more possession than them, we've seen it. We can't break down a low block. As I said, there was a bit more inventiveness a few weeks ago. I don't know where it went yesterday. It was just kind of pass, cross, clear. Pass, cross, clear. It was bad to watch. And it felt like we weren't going to score. When we did equalise through Murphy, great finish from Murphy, and a really good play from Joe Linton in the build-up. Well, you feel like you should go on and win the game, and we don't. We concede immediately afterwards. It was grim. It was absolutely grim. And then once they scored again, I didn't feel like there was another goal in it. Sometimes you feel like there is another goal in it, but I think from 2-2, you have to seize the momentum. You have to put them under pressure. The St. James's Park crowd was alive. So you've got to be in a position whereby, do it. Now, this is a fair point. Now, and this is where the how out stuff has merit, okay? Because Newcastle, if they're going to be one of the best clubs in the world, which they keep telling us they want to be, I'm not saying it. They've said it. So the club have said it. You're going to probably be a team who dominate possession and have more possession in games. And in that sense, you have to find a way to break teams down. When we have more possession, it feels like most of the time we can't break them down. We actually got. I'm pretty sure even against Karabag, the 6-1, the possession was pretty even because of just the way they played against us. So yeah, I feel as if that's a thing that, and that this is where it all has merit, because as I've said about going down the center of the pitch, it seems like we evacuate the center of the pitch because the triangles have worked for so long, and the patterns of play have worked for so long, but they're not working anymore. And I know they don't have a load of time on the training ground, but you've got to just then try something else, like trust the players almost to come up with something. And playing down the middle of the pitch with a number 10 of some sort, I think would change things. I think we'd open up teams a lot better, because we've still got such devastating pace all over the pitch that can be used and can be exploited. But it's not been at this moment in time because we're not using the middle of the pitch to then. You've got to use the middle of the pitch to open up the wings, basically. If you open up the wings and then they just pack the middle of the pitch, pack the box, and then you're just crossing in and they're clearing every single one. We saw over and over again yesterday. Over and over again. It was just the same thing over and over again. Good play, out of the wings, but they were happy. That's the thing. Everton were happy to let us put crosses in because they knew they could deal with them. And they did deal with them. They dealt with them easily. They dealt with them very, very easily. So this is all good stuff. But I mean, yeah, Hopkinson. No, I mean, I love Eddie. Okay, Brian saying I love Eddie. My only fine with him is he's too friendly to the players and come on and take advantage of them. But some of them take advantage of them. And Gordon in particular, I find gets too much favour with Eddie. I may be wrong. No, this is an absolutely fair point, this, Brian. Do think that certainly I was calling for it earlier on in the season when Barnes was playing well. I think Barnes' form's dropped off a little bit, unfortunately. But when he's decided to turn down Scotland for the World Cup, I think. And again, I would have actually thought he would have had a chance of going with England, but his form's dropped off, unfortunately. So that's a shame. Not even just goals, just the way he's playing dropped off as well. Because I think for a period of time, Barnes was playing really well in a lot of games. But unfortunately, that's dropped off a little bit. But definitely, Brian, this is a fair point, because there was a point where Gordon was starting on the left and Barnes was on the right. And I felt as if Barnes was playing better than Gordon, and he is better on the left. So I would have liked to see Barnes starting over Gordon in that position. That was what I felt like we should have seen happen. And instead, Gordon just kept playing. And then we had that weird thing where Eddie said, yeah, Gordon doesn't like playing on the right, so I'm not going to play him on the right. Or Barnes is more receptive to playing on the right or something. I don't want to hear that. And it's what matters for the team. It's what's best for Newcastle United. What's best for Newcastle United at that point was Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right. Now, since then, Gordon's form has picked up. He was awful against Everton. Yes, he was. And he's at fault for the third goal. Still don't think he should get booed off. I don't agree with that. But equally, I think this is a fair point. Chris going on about Waldemar again. Well, look, Chris, if you think I'm selling a false story, fair enough. But I'm not. I think that Waldemar is the perfect player to build the counter-attack around. He's not going to be the one who gets on the end of it, but you can build the counter-attack around him by playing the ball into him. He'll create other space for other people. We've seen it already. You get the best out of him, and at Stuttgart, they get the best out of him when they got players around him. We don't get players around him. We're never going to see the best out of him. And another one from Chris. Sorry, Jack, it's about Newcastle United, not Waldemar. You need to get that in your head. We don't play in Germany. This is the Prem. When are you going to wake up? It's England, not Germany. They're slower. It's not about that. It's not about that. You know, I understand. Again, this is the problem that I've got with the Waldemar now, the discourse that's going on and on and on. He is becoming a scapegoat for our shortcomings this season. When actually in his first season in England, he has 10 goals in all comps, which is pretty decent. He scored in the Champions League, scored in the Premier League, scored in the FA Cup, and he scored in the Carabao Cup. And if you actually pass the ball to him and get people around him, which, as Adam Cleary has said, then you will see the best of him. But instead, we've got no one around him. He's disconnected from everyone. And then he looks a bit lost. But when you get players around him, connected to him, you will see the best of him. It's as simple as that. Absolutely as simple as that. And if you don't see the best of him, and it doesn't work out, and we are starting to get players around him, then I'll admit I'm wrong. But until I see any tangible evidence of us playing to his strengths and getting him into the team, because it's pointless spending this much money on him if you're not going to adapt in some way to him. And Newcastle need to evolve as a team. They need to evolve as a team. We're not going to become a side that dominates Europe or whatever by playing the same style of football all the time. You look at Arsenal, you look at Manchester City. They have very different ways of playing games all of the time. Arsenal are a team who don't really even press that much anymore. They do in some games, but they're not like relentless presses. They found a way to control games with the ball. They found a way to dominate from set pieces. They found a way to break teams down in other ways. They've also found a way to be dangerous on the counter-attack. They change formation relatively regularly. City, in the sense of they've become more physical. They've still got the technical quality, and Newcastle are probably at the point where it's a little bit more physical than it is technical. City's probably, they're basically at the same sort of level. We need to get to that level, and Waldemar is that evolution of that, because he's that technical player. Is Bernardo Silva physical? No, he's not at all. But it doesn't really matter because he's so good. As Claire says here, Waldemar has been used as a scapegoat to divert attention away from his other poor signings. Howe wants to save his job. It's March, and we still don't play to his strengths. Exactly, we don't play to his strengths. We don't play to his strengths at all. If you look at, so again, there's been some really interesting articles on him and on Waldemar and stuff, because again, there's so much discourse around him now, which is a shame when he's clearly a really good footballer, and I don't want to just force him out of the club, but it almost feels like we are going that way. Now, he is a player who absolutely thrives when you get people around him. People around him so he can interlink with them, play off them, create space for them, create space for himself. And instead, when he plays up front, we just leave him on his own up front. And as I said, we evacuate the middle of the pitch. Everyone right to the left, everyone to the right. You've got usually one midfielder and then two centre-backs in the middle of the pitch. So it's Toon Army, and then the rest of them are all out wide. The rest of them are all out wide the other side. And then you've just got Waldemar stand in front standing up front on his own. So this is where I totally agree that the merit. Yeah, this is where you totally agree with it with the merit of. This is where I get the merit of the Howe out camp, because there needs to be evolution, and we're not seeing the evolution, to be honest. So yeah, like Gavin here saying this 4-3-3 with no 10 is easy to play against. The win, we're going down the wings, but the last few away games we won, we were trying to go through the middle. Yeah, of course we were. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you watch the Aston Villa game back, okay, which I know they were down to 10 men, but I thought even 11v11 we were the better team. I know we were 1-0 down to an offside goal, but I thought we were the better team. You could see the ideas, you could see the interplay. It looked better, and it was because Waldemar was playing as a 10 in that game. I know there was this thing that came out that apparently he wasn't, but he was drifting into the 10 position, and we were finding him, and he was creating space for other people, and he was holding people off, and he still got criticised by Shearer during the game. He's too deep. He's playing in midfield. What do you want him to do? Obviously, I understand that Shearer is one of the best strikers ever, but like he's judging Waldemar in the wrong way. He is. He just simply is. So are a lot of people, and I loathe the fact that we do this with him. Loathe it, because he has the potential to be a top player for us. Absolutely does. But you're not going to see it if you just lump him up front on his own, and then if you lump him up front on his own and hope for the best. Yeah, and just hope for the best, playing in the same way as we did Isak, because yes, we left Isak isolated on his own most of the time. He wasn't really involved in the build-up play, really. Certainly not last season. Maybe in the season before, Isak probably was involved in the build-up play, but last season he wasn't really involved in the build-up play at all. And we just left him up front on his own, and we created chance after chance for him. But Waldemar's a different striker. You've got to change everything. So Cuff saying Waldemar doing had 14 touches yesterday. Yeah, even in centre mid, if it's not your natural position, that's not good enough. It's not only his fault by any means, but he does need to dig more. Yeah, look, I watched the game. Of course I did. And yeah, I noticed he wasn't really involved in the game. Equally, I've made a point now of kind of watching him for a lot of the time, because I want to, I guess, test my theory. Yeah, I want to test my theory on him. I want to test if I am maybe barking up the wrong tree, or if I am on the right track. So I decided to watch him just a little bit of yesterday. And there was a lot of times where, even when he was in midfield, he sort of like drifted into a little position like behind an Everton defender, or in front, no, like behind Everton midfielder and in front of Everton defender. So like that pocket of space where if he gets on the turn, he can start causing some problems. And instead what happened is Burn just ignored the pass entirely, passed it to Hall. Hall, then because by the time the ball gets out to Hall, that sort of passing lane's closed. Hall goes back to Burn, and then Burn went back along to Chow. It's like, if Burn's a bit more brave there, it wasn't a hard pass to make either, by the way. It was about a 15-yard pass. If he's a bit more brave there, you get Waldemar in a little pocket of space where he can maybe open up something. Again, he's not a midfielder. Then we move him up front. He didn't get the ball at all. They didn't pass it. They didn't pass to him once. They just instead went out wide to the left, out wide to the right, out wide to the left, out wide to the right, blah blah blah. Cross in. Waldemar he's not a good header of the ball. He's not on the end of it. A bit annoying, but pass him the ball. Pass him the ball. That's my issue. That's my issue. If you don't pass him the ball, what is he meant to do? What is he meant to do with it? He's got great movement in terms of, like, he can see the space, he knows where he needs to be, it comes into him, and then he plays it out wide, and then you go from there. But instead, or he plays it through, because he can do that. We saw that in midweek against Karabag, where little flick through for Murphy. What a pass that is. Only other player in our team who could do that is probably Bruno. So that's what I'm at with this Waldemar thing. And I'll keep going on. I will keep going on about it until I see us play anywhere near his strengths. And if he does leave in the summer, I will still always stand by the fact that we've wasted a talent there. We've wasted a talent there because I've seen it. I've seen the talent. You can see it. You just need to look at even the way he played for Stuttgart as well. There's clear talent there, and for whatever reason, it is just not been utilised. Now, dark side of the moon, absolutely fair enough. What does Nick do for you to say he's a top player? This is a valid point, considering I do go on about him a lot, but I've got to go on about him a lot because I feel like he's becoming a scapegoat. So the reason I rate Walter Marlow so highly is because he's got the intelligence of a midfield player. He has the vision of a midfield player. And he has the technique of a number 10. So he might not be a guy who's going to score you 30 goals a season. But I do think, either directly or indirectly, if you play him properly, he'll be involved in 40 plus. That's goals, assists, and just creating a key pass or some movement that creates space for someone else. You've got to look at some of the goals he scored this season. Okay, I mean, Dark Side of the Moon, you said it's nonsense. Why is it nonsense? You know, I respect everyone's opinion about Newcastle United. I respect everyone's opinion about Newcastle United. But I'd just like to know why you think it's nonsense. Like, absolutely fair enough, but Waldemar is a quality footballer. He plays up front for Germany. And you will see when he plays up front for Germany how much more they get him involved in the game. They have Florian Wirtz in the 10. They have Gnabry, whatever around him. Then Musiala as well when he's fit. And you will see players buzzing him around him. And you will see the best of him. You will absolutely see the best of him. Kweku Afari, who's a broadcaster at talkSPORT and a good friend, said you judge him a bit like Berbatov, by the sense of what's his overall contribution at the team rather than how many goals he scores. And I thought it was a great comparison. He is like Berbatov. He is literally like Berbatov. Did Berbatov press but Baltimore actually works harder than Berbatov, but did Berbatov do any of that? Like, no, but he was part of a Manchester United team that won everything. And he was a massive part of it because of his intelligence, his technique, and the ability he had to find players in good positions and create space for other players. Like, we've got Trulls saying, look at the through balls Walter does. And then David Spence saying, we like high pressing and Walter can't keep with the pace of the team. Yeah, you know what? And David, I agree with this. And that's why I'm saying that if it is going to be still that style of play all of the time, then you play him as a number 10 and you buy a pressing striker. So the pressing striker and the wingers do the pressing. Walter does the more intelligent sort of off the ball stuff, which you need to still do even if you're a pressing team. You need to have some people who stand just in the right positions. So, yeah. That's fine. No, Dark Side of the Moon, you're saying he's an okay player, but you're just not seeing it. Well, no. I mean, just let me know why not seeing it. As I say, I've got a lot of mates who don't see it either. Genuinely, I've got a lot of mates who don't see it either. But that's what I'm at with. That's what I'm at with that one. And Gavin, hey, we're scoring every chance till he got dropped for Vista. I can't understand why people want rid of one of our technical players when we're really short on them. This is a great point. Newcastle don't have many technical players. Not really. This guy's got fantastic feet. And that's why some of the lazy comparisons to like, oh, he's like Peter Crouch. No, he's not like Peter Crouch because he's 6'6". Doesn't mean he's like Peter Crouch. Honestly, some of the discourse around him is mental. Newcastle should be adapting. They should be doing everything they can to get the most out of him because otherwise it's absolutely pointless spending that money on him. Like, I appreciate this idea of that it was a panic buy or what have you. And if he was, then okay. But still, even if he is a panic buy, please just adapt the team. Just get something out of him. What is the point otherwise? Genuinely. Right, if you're listening on DAB radio, first of all, fantastic that we're on your radio. But please head over to YouTube, get involved in the comments. Obviously, listening in the car, you can't do that. But I hope you are enjoying in the car. But yeah, please do head over to NUFC Talk TV, get involved with that. And I mean, as I say, this is just basically a Walter Marder discussion. Got about 15 minutes left. Look, but the thing is, I understand why it's turned into a Walter Marder discussion, because I've got Dark Side of the Moon here saying he doesn't rate him, and that's absolutely fair enough. But and as I said, I've got mates who don't rate him either, and then you got me who's on the other side of the fence who says, "No, massively rate him. We're just using him wrong." He's a player who just he clearly splits opinion, and I think it's one of those things where I'm watching him and I see it. I absolutely see the ability that he has and how good he could be in the team that is designed around him, and we adapt our game to make sure that he's in it, not necessarily change everything about how we play. That's why I'm saying you probably end up, if we keep the same, so say if Howe stays, we keep in the same whatever, then you put him in the 10 and you buy a pressing striker and you go from there, and you readapt the way the team is just to get the most out of Nick Voltemade. And then look, I mean, the idea, because again, this is from Adrian, who I've got massive respect for. You know, great. He watches Inside the Toon every week as well. He's not a Newcastle fan; he's a Peterborough fan, but he watches Inside the Toon every week. But to say that Voltemade is the worst signing in Premier League history is incredible. It's absolutely incredible to say that. Now, Foxy, welcome, by the way. This comparison is so respectful of Berbatov. Okay, I don't want to. I will clarify what both I and Kwaku mean by that. Not saying that he's is as good as Berbatov. I'm not saying anything like that at all. What I'm saying is, you judge Berbatov by his overall contribution to the team. You didn't look at Berbatov's stats maybe and say, and look at his stats maybe and say, well, how many goals he got this season, because it's his overall contribution to the team. Now, Dennis Bergkamp's another example. Again, I'm not saying he's as good as Dennis Bergkamp, but if there's a stats person, because I did a piece a few weeks ago on Dennis Bergkamp, I looked at his stats and I was like, they're not that good. But then equally, he's the reason that made Henry so good. So Bergkamp is another one. Berbatov's another one. I'm not trying to put them on the same level. I'm just saying that that's how you judge him. We shouldn't judge him like an Isak, whereby Isak was in the team to score goals, and he did it very, very well. But we're not. But that was kind of what he did. He wasn't always involved in the. Yeah, he wasn't always involved in the build-up play, but Voltemade will be involved in the build-up play, and I enjoy that. I just think we were just, again, not using him correctly at all. And again, like, got another point here saying, from Dark Side of the Moon. I would not say, no, sorry, that was the other one you're saying. Yeah, it is down to Eddie. It is down to Eddie. And like, again, if you go to the talkSPORT Newcastle YouTube channel, watch the latest Inside the Toon with me, Adam Cleary, Craig Hope, and Ollie Klink. I questioned Craig on this. I said about, if he is a panic signing, then okay, that's annoying. But if he is a panic signing, you've still spent £69 million on him. You've got to find a way to get him in the team properly, and you've got to find a way to adapt the team to him. It's pointless if you don't. Absolutely pointless if you don't. So that's where I don't know what's going to happen in the summer. My colleague Alex Cook's reporting that Newcastle are willing to sell him, which would be a massive shame for me. But because again, as I said, I think he's a player who could take us to that next level of that technical level that we need to get to if we're going to become a top team. You can't just always be about running. There needs to be some technical ability in your play. And Waldemar is the man to do that. So, but I understand everyone's opinion on it. I respect everyone's opinion on it. As I've said, got loads of mates in group chats I'm in who don't rate him either. They don't rate him, and I get that probably because, probably because. Well, I'm trying to think. Why don't they rate him? Yeah, don't rate him probably because they see a 6'6" guy who signed as a striker and he's not scoring goals. Okay, fair enough. But I think if you can still, he can still become more worthwhile to the team if it's made properly and it's adapted and we evolve. And he's part of that evolution, in my view. If we're going to get to that next level, he's part of that evolution because you need to become better in possession. He's very good in possession. So that's just what I think. I think Ramsey is starting to try and move on to something else. It was really a shame to see Ramsey go off. I hope he's absolutely fine for Wednesday because I think Ramsey is now starting to become one of our better players. I think that, again, I've always banged the drum. I've always been a huge fan. Even at the start of the season, I was like, no, I think he'll come good. Absolutely think he'll come good. And I believe that Ramsey is playing well now. He's starting at goals and assists. I think he was always playing well, to be honest. But I think he's starting at goals and assists. I love his drive from midfield. I think he's a great passer of the football. He doesn't really lose it very often either, and a lot of it's forward passing as well. And he picks up some great, and he's picked up some great pockets of space in numerous positions as well. And I really feel as if Ramsey's starting to show us exactly what we thought we were getting. So I'm thinking that by the end of the season, we'll look at him and say, no, that was a great signing. He'll be good for anyone as well. By the way, will Ramsey be an important player for us for a few years, 100%. And Dark Side of the Moon is saying you're not here to sing out Nick. No, not at all. Not at all. I didn't want to make it all about that at all. I just want to address your point. I want to understand why you felt the way you felt. And I totally appreciate it. I really do. I totally appreciate it. Now, I'm seeing some comments on Visser as well because I have just gone on a bit about Ramsey. But yeah, Visser, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't think he's very good as a footballer. I think he's pretty limited. His link-up play is not strong at all. He does have good poaching instincts in and around the goal, but he's just not on the end of any of them. He's not on the end of anything. So it's not going to happen for me. I want it basically for it to work. He need to come in, score a load of goals straight away, and have an immediate impact. Then I thought when he wasn't playing, I thought, okay, he's going to come back and he's going to be an important player of our season because Waldemar at that point was looking tired. He was playing every game up front. And again, we were leaving him isolated up front on his own, but he was looking tired more so than anything. So I thought him coming back would help them both. And honestly, yeah, like I just don't see it. Yeah, I just don't see it. Unfortunately, I just don't see it. I'm really seeing a bloke who is lazy and he's not really putting the effort in, and that's what's unforgivable for me. Really, if you're going to play for Newcastle United as the striker wearing the number 9 shirt, you got to run around. You've got to put something in for us. You got to give us something to back because I'm seeing nothing to back at all. If I'm brutally honest, and I want him to come good. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think he's going to start many games between now and the end of the season because I think Eddie Howe's fed up with himself. It was that Brentford game. So annoying. I mean, they had Ayer and Vandenberg as their 2 centre-backs. 2 pretty average centre-backs in possession. And they were just allowed to walk forward under no pressure whatsoever. And it was Visser against his old team. And I thought, go on then, son. Go on then. Go on, give him a chase around. And he was denied a goal. There was a shot blocked off the line by JanElt. But yeah, like, and this is where the Gordon booing doesn't make much sense, because his levels are not at it in the Premier League, and they haven't been for whatever reason for a long time. But he still works hard, and he still tracks back, and he still presses, and he still does everything that he should do off the ball, even if on the ball it's not happening for him. So So if he was booed, that's where I don't get it. You know, I wouldn't boo it, and as I said, I wouldn't really boo any players. Really, I don't think that's the way we should be as a fan base. I get the season's frustrating, and it has been. It's been massively frustrating. It really has. But we shouldn't be booing our own players. Yeah, like I just, yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that. I'm not with it. And Foxy saying, we'll be really interested to know who's buying the visit. Look, I think we're just got to be honest. That is a panic buy. I think even if Walter Marty is, then Walter Marty's clearly got an abundance of talent that can be moulded and developed. This was just a pure panic buy. I mean, the other one we were going for was Jorgen Strand Larsen. He's got, well, I mean, before he joined Palace, he had 1 goal all season for Wolves. So it was a case of, the summer was unfortunately a sliding doors moment. You know, we had big ambitions. If we'd managed to get, and this was a fair point from Craig, I did think, if Newcastle had managed to get, say, okay, let's just say Ekitike, Isak goes to Liverpool, we get Ekitike, we got, let's say, João Pedro as well. So João Pedro, Ekitike, and then who else were we linked with? So many players that we came close to signing. I'll just go for them two at the moment. So I'll go for Ekitike and João Pedro rather than Visser and Waldemar. I think the season looks very different. But in the end, they went other places. We were ambitious. Even the Champions League football, we had to be ambitious. And when we didn't get those players, we had to drop way down the target list. And with Callum Wilson leaving and Isak not going, we were in a position where by the start of the season, we had Gordon and Asula as our only strikers. And we couldn't go through a season with that being the case. So they blew the money on Waldemar, £69 million on him, club record fee. I still think that will come good, but I totally understand why people don't think it will. And then this was just a pure panic buy, in my opinion. And Brentford are laughing all the way at the bank. They're going to get European football by the looks of it, with Igor Thiago banging the goals in. Meanwhile, we're going to be scrapping about for whatever is going to happen in the summer. And I'm not looking forward to the summer. I'm not trying to sell out players or anything like that. But you've got to be realistic and feel like there's going to be some players who we want to keep who we're probably going to lose. And equally, there's going to be some players who should have been moved on already finally get moved on. And then with the manager, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to judge what the view is. There's still a long way left in the season. It'll all depend on what happens with that, I think. I think if we do go a bit further in Champions League, do go further in the FA Cup, I think they'll be happy to write it off as a transitional season, let it go again. But if not, they might look to move him on. That is one thing that I don't know. I've seen in the comments, I've seen whatever. I understand totally why people feel as if it is the time, Eddie's time has come, but it'll be ultimately down to the club. And we don't know what's going to happen until the end of the season, probably. We'll find that out soon enough. It's a shame now we're going to that Manchester United game. Yeah, we're going to that Manchester United game. We have 10 games left, so a quarter of the season to go. And we're in a position of where it's just been grim in the Premier League. Let's try and enjoy these Barcelona games, see what we can do with them, and hopefully we can somehow beat Manchester City in the FA Cup, because that'll be a chance to get to Wembley. Hopefully, I mean, our draws have been an absolute joke, but whatever. I don't know when I'm going to be back but I think it'll be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm sure it'll be up soon enough. I need to have a chat with Chris on that one. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Again, some great debate as always. Like, as I've said, we're all Newcastle fans. We all want the best for Newcastle United. We're going to agree. We're going to disagree. But what I will say is, look, all that matters is we can have a civil debate, and we did have a civil debate, and let's just hope things improve. But if not, well, we'll have to look ahead to what could be a pretty grim summer. But let's try and stay a bit positive. And thank you all very much again for joining. Really, really appreciate it. Again, all the best to all of you. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Trying to forget about Newcastle. And I'll let you know when I'm back. Well, I don't know. I'll be back at some point in the week. Have a great one. See you later.